Okay, so we have another big part of government, that is entitlements. Entitlements are systems of payments given to people for various needs and services. Takes up a big part of the budget, and how they're paid for, that's various different things. Comes to a lot of budget calculations. Get a couple handouts here on those. Now, three of the most commonly known, most popular are Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Social Security was created in 1935. Medicare and Medicaid both created in 1965. Part of Lyndon Johnson's Great Society program's idea of trying to provide medical care for the American people. But doctors got upset about the idea of called all socialized medicine will ruin everything. So they ended up doing was a split system of Medicare for people over 65, senior citizens, and Medicaid for the poor that could afford it. Because generally the belief was that middle class, the upper classes will have health insurance, be able to afford health insurance. But the problem with that, though, was insurance companies weren't covering everybody. People with pre-existing conditions dropped off the plan. And a lot of jobs didn't provide health insurance, or didn't provide anything that was affordable, which is why they ended up coming out with the Affordable Care Act in 2010. Put a bunch of money into Medicaid, told insurance companies you can't, you have to provide service for everybody regardless of pre-existing conditions, genetic discrimination, which is a problem because you can now tell what kind of diseases people will be susceptible to just by their DNA.
Yeah.
Federal government told the insurance companies, you can't do that. You treat them. They get sick, you treat them. So they pay their money for it. Provides all sorts of things. Vaccinations are covered by the ACA. Parents can carry their kids on their health insurance until they're 26. So because of this now, these three programs, about 96-97% of Americans now have health insurance of some kind. Of course, it's a lot of money to pay for that because we have a lot more medical advances than we did in 1965. New medical techniques, new medicines, new surgical techniques, new diagnostic tools, and those didn't come cheap. Plus, the doctors want to retire as millionaires and go get a good tea time at the country clubs, so that has to come first. So that is expensive. We're talking about a couple $1 trillion here with the healthcare. We'll see how it all breaks down here in terms of the federal budget. And I found some pie charts. Affordable Care Act? Yes. It's also called Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act, the ACA, it's also called Obamacare. 2010. Yeah, it's been kind of a funny thing is people have been polled about this. They said they love the Affordable Care Act, but they hate Obamacare. They don't realize it's the same thing. That's part of it. They don't like Obama. And of course, around the time Obama became president, you had these Tea Party protesters, and a lot of them are carrying around signs saying, "Get your government hands off my Medicare." That is a government program. It's a problem. People don't quite understand how the system works here. Well, this is the budget. This is how it's all broken down here. That's a lot of pie. Now, it's our discretionary spending. Social Security takes up about 20% of the budget. Various other agencies here. Medicare, a good part of it.
See NASA in there somewhere.
Yeah, NASA's in there. It's hidden somewhere.
Oh yeah, it's like it's a little tiny sliver right there.
Yeah, National Science Foundation, Security Administration, Army Corps of Engineers, Small Business Administration. Tiny, tiny little scraps of the budget. Department of Education. One of the orange ones here. It's about like I say, it is about 1.3% of the budget, if I'm reading this correctly. It's a good question. What's this bigger thing here? Social Security. What's this other big thing here? Defense budget.
We don't need that. Well,
Exactly. What's this other big one here? Medicare, Medicaid. It's the problem with the bureaucratic system is ask them to justify their jobs. They can give you very complex, very compelling reasons and a lot of data why their job is important. Because, among other things, for everything you spend, there has to be somebody looking out, making sure it's being spent right. You have to have auditors and accountants, a big chunk of accountants. Got to have lawyers because somebody's always suing somebody else. I'd be surprised the number of lawsuits that federal agencies have to field every day. And then those departments, they have accounting departments they're accountable to. And say, what does the Department of Education do? Well, it doesn't just write checks to everybody. It, one thing, makes sure that schools are equitable and following civil rights laws. Make sure that segregation doesn't start sneaking back in. Make sure that no one's civil rights are being violated. Make sure that school buildings are safe, and that not just from people coming in from outside, but also safe from maintenance problems.
yeah.
Also collects data because for schools to function, different programs to function, you need information. Who's doing what? What's working? What isn't?
Then from like faculty as well.
Yeah. All sorts of data being taken on us, who we are, where we got our education, what level of education we have, how much experience we have, how much we're being paid. Surprisingly enough, the higher paid a faculty you have, the better we do. Strange connection there.
It's almost like it needs it. So.
Yeah. And so we love our work, but we also love to eat and pay rent. We're kind of funny about that. Yeah. But among other things, they give out money to schools. There are some very poor school districts that have pretty much nothing, and the only way they can afford something like a new roof or new computers is grants from the Department of Education. During the Great Depression, a lot of states were only, including Arkansas, were only able to pay school teachers because we were getting money from the federal government. People on Pell Grants, that's the Department of Education. Like I say, were the Pell Grants for the Department of Education? Yeah, but it made it a lot easier for one department handing them out. And plus, the Department of Education makes sure that money is being spent correctly.
Nothing like a distant person who doesn't know what actually going on.
Yeah, because there's a plus and a minus to that. The Department of Education doesn't generally say, okay, you're going to use this school book in Johnny's third grade classroom. But it does say, why doesn't Johnny's classroom have any school books? Or any computers or any equipment? Why is Johnny, who has learning disabilities, not getting proper accommodations? Because there is something to be said for people up close seeing the situation up close by, but also as a problem. Also, you need accountability outside the system. So you're not getting free pass because all your cousins on the school board, or your best friend's the state senator and gave him a lot of money, so he's going to make sure your school doesn't have any of the legal problems, things like that. Somebody anonymous outside the system, you can self accountable to. And it's why you have these different levels of accountability. How do we really know that this money's being spent the way it's supposed to? One thing, every dime a school gets, they're supposed to report it. And they report grant spending back to the federal government. They report all their spending to the general public. In Arkansas, you have something called the Open Checkbook Initiative. You can go to the state's website and you can see how every dime is being spent in this state. The Arkansas Democrat Gazette for years used to list every employee in the state making over $100,000 a year. It's a hint, most of them aren't professors.
Yeah.
But those football coaches, yeah, they're getting paid a lot of money to lose every week. Did I say that? But lots of different things. Department of Labor, it takes a lot of money to get that information. Those companies compile those numbers. Department of the Interior, what do? Well, they also provide money for the reservations. They run the national parks, national historic sites, make sure they're maintained. Park rangers, they got to eat too. I'm pretty sure. It's been a long time since I took biology, but I'm pretty sure everybody needs to eat.
No, I'm pretty sure they can just live off the land, right?
That's right. Yeah, give him a fishing pole and send Ranger Johnny off to work.
Or give them a hunting rifle. Yeah, we're in Arkansas.
Oh, you don't need a hunting rifle in Arkansas. All you need is a good truck and get that good aim at a deer.
Make sure to go to the brush garden east one.
Oh, yeah. It's a big chunk of this also, interest on the national debt. We're paying that off a little at a time. Very little at a time.
We're on the spending board. Yeah. Let it be paying off.
Yeah. But here's the thing about debts. Which administrations always have the highest deficits? No, which presidential administrations? Who always runs up the most bills that
You
paying
like
it?
Democrat and Republican?
Yeah, Democrat versus
Question.
Republicans always have higher deficits.
Is there a specific reason for it?
because they don't want to pay for it. Lower taxes on everybody. So, see, I lowered your taxes, everything's fine, but I didn't cut spending. So everything's still up. It's paying a lot, still paying a lot of money. Democrats, yeah, they may spend a lot, but they pay for it. Here's one. Last president to leave office with the budget surplus was Bill Clinton in 2001. And immediately go into deficit spending under Bush Jr. It spikes initially in 2009. Why? You had a major recession then. No money's coming in. But we had to spend a lot of money to pull out of the recession, so it starts dropping. So this 2009 deficit is actually Bush. It starts coming down under Obama, skyrockets under Trump, starts coming back down again under Biden. Already increasing beforehand, but about half of this is because of the pandemic. Goes way back in time even. There we go. Federal debt by president. It really starts increasing dramatically under Reagan in the 1980s. Now the highest here was during World War II. We had to spend every dime we had to try to win, so we can still speak English today. It starts coming down gradually. And even Lyndon Johnson, all the spending he did, he left office with a budget surplus. Vietnam War, civil rights initiatives, school spending, interstate highway spending, spending on NASA, Medicare, Medicaid. Johnson still leaves office with a budget surplus.
I don't think it mattered.
Yeah, things start increasing again. Why? Because they've got to pay off a lot of debt from the Iraq War. A lot of what the national debt is what we owe to ourselves. Things like the Social Security and Medicare trust funds, they're running deficits now. So how's that being covered? The federal government's paying it back. So that's money we owe to ourselves because nobody wants to take trouble of fixing the financial problem. So that's the thing about leadership positions. Something you have to understand is, yeah, it's fun to have the titles, be the life of the party, always invited to speak, and everybody always wants to hear what you have to say about everything. But if you want to do the job right, it's work.
Yeah.
It means you have to make hard decisions people aren't going to like. You have to make decisions that are for the best interest of the people and the organization. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be a jerk about it, but it means leadership means you have to put the organization first.
Do you believe that eventually it's been more than we did World War II?
No. Unless we start World War III. Yeah, nuclear war, there's nothing to worry about there. No, just don't worry about it. I don't think there's going to be World War III. Putin's boxed himself into a corner. He knows it. And the oligarchs aren't going to let him start a nuclear war. The generals aren't going to let him start a nuclear war. They have ways of handling things like that in Russia.
Loyal to a certain point.
But the lesson of World War II was you don't start cutting deals, dividing up other people's countries just to buy peace.
Yeah.
Because it never works. You don't appease the bully, you stand up to him. If that means getting a bloody nose in the process. It's not always a safe world, not always a fair world. But you stand up to them now, doesn't mean it's going to be a problem later. That's why we go back here to our federal budget. Why we spend so much on foreign aid, which actually, as you see, isn't very much, about 1.5% of the budget.
And yet we spend more on
Because there are a lot of things involved with defense. S-16s don't come cheap.
Nothing in the military comes cheap.
No.
But do we need all of these?
That's a good question. That's an excellent question. It's been debated for many years. Because we spend the money on foreign aid to foreign nations, such as food, medicine, infrastructure, loans, whatever. That helps us in the long term, means raises the standard of living in another country, provides stability in that country, which means makes it easier for us to do business in that country. Plus, means those problems in that country aren't going to end up showing up here on our doorstep. Because eventually, that's always what's going to happen. The lesson of the last 100 years has been the way the world is at this point is so interconnected that either we deal with the problem where it is right now, or we will have to deal with it, a much worse problem, in 10 years.
I think that a big problem that we shouldn't have to be over the world power. We shouldn't have to have everything follow us.
Yeah, we shouldn't. We should. That's why we try to develop international partnerships like NATO, so we're not shouldering the whole burden. Does it always work for the best? Not always, but
It's always good to have a backup.
it is. Have a plan B, C, and D. And that's something they do at the Pentagon all the time. They're developing plan B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Yeah.
They've come up with every possible scenario.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that these officers, they're very well-educated men and women. They're not like the stereotype of the dumb football coach who just wants to pick a fight with somebody. No, they one of the senior-most, I think the senior-most general in the Army, he has a master's degree in English. But he's a West Point educated graduate. Like I say, you find very common issues all over. I teach some online. I teach for a couple of online colleges, and I have a lot of military men in those.
Yeah.
And what's the major? A lot of them they want to major in history, some in political science. What's that?
Wouldn't political science be better in the military than history?
Not necessarily. It's a political science. It is useful seeing how the government works and seeing how systems work. There's a use for it. But history, you learn to see patterns. You learn how to study different battles and different techniques, change the effect of technology and personalities on over time. History is about people.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, it's good to study political science, but not very good for a soldier to have a strong and open political opinion as a soldier, because at the end of the day, you're kind of mocking your boss if you don't very good.
Exactly. Which is, yeah, that's an excellent point. That's why for years up until the 20th century, the tradition was it's kind of taboo in the military to have a strong political opinion or even vote, because tradition is the civilians are in command. You follow the orders of your civilian commander, the civilian government. In fact, in some countries, the army's not allowed to vote, because they've had problems with the military. It's too strong of an opinion. Yep.
They're allowed to communicate about it or talk about it with other people.
In those countries, generally just not supposed to have a political opinion. They can talk about it, but it's considered to be kind of taboo. It's like it's like going to church and talking about porn movies. It's just something that's just considered being really bad taste. Now, hard defense. Question, should we have that big budget? Well, you got to understand what we're paying for with all that. You want a big battleship, it's not just building it, it's also maintaining it. These guys, you got to pay them. Most most recruits in the military, they're paid so little they could actually qualify for food stamps.
Yeah, it's actually hilarious. I remember.
How much do they pay?
It depends, but I think they start enlistment. I'm not sure. We'll look that up.
They talk like.
Yeah, because you get paid more if you're in the field.
Oh yeah, obviously, because I only get paid. Something a month.
You're paid for rank and
Time service.
and time of service. Here is your.
So yeah, you usually have like a base pay that's with a rank pay put on top of it, and then the time.
This Army pay grade start off at the very beginning. E1 private, active duty. Let's say start at the beginning of the year.
But active duty pay was a lot higher than like government. For obvious reasons.
See, in E1, the U.S. Army is from military.com. Your pay is $2,000 a month. Regular active duty. National Guard, $269 a month.
Oh dear.
That's me. That's me.
You get some nice benefits, but you got to be in for a while to get those benefits.
Yeah, if you go. Not too much better.
Active duty, $2,600. Again, that's just a couple of years in it, but it's.
So you're planning to stay in there, like?
I mean, I'm in a 6-year contract right now, and I'm like 3 years in. I don't know.
But you're in there for a while. Let's say you got your 20 in, you're in E9, you're up to $7,400 a month after duty. They pay you well if you stay in for a while.
But it's not easy to stay in
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah, so senior officers like colonels and generals, they'll make 6 figures a year if they've been in 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's good, honest work. We need it, but it's hard work.
And the problem with active duty is it's so much harder to rank up than it is in the Guard, because for NCOs, for instance, you have to have a position open in the first place for you to be able to rank up. E1, D4 is just whatever, really.
So that's the problem they had. They have to have somebody kind of space to open up and then a place to put you. So they move you around a lot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
And they'll pay a lot more for certain specialist services. I had an airman in my class once who worked out at Barksdale. He was working in cybersecurity, and they were trying to get him to take these high-level courses, get his 4-year degree, and tell him that certain types of positions, certain types of specialties, the Army will, Air Force, or Navy, they will pay you to take these classes.
Do they want to?
And they want certification, they want expertise, and they'll pay you to do it.
The most I have is a security clearance.
Yeah. So yeah. Plus, you got those bases to maintain, vehicles to maintain, gas to pay, civilian contractors. say you want a good, strong military because it's still a dangerous world.
Yeah.
But we have the best military in the world. What's the last battle the United States Army lost? 1950.
Technically, we lost.
No, we actually didn't. We never lost a major engagement in Afghanistan.
But we left.
We left, yeah, because Trump made a deal with the Taliban and said, okay, y'all can take over. And we had to leave. And it was all of a sudden, what, we have to leave now? Everyone's trying to rush out, and the Afghan army collapsed. But we had to get out. Even in Vietnam, we never lost a major battle. We took heavy casualties. We did not lose a major battle in Vietnam. The mission was to protect the territorial integrity and security of South Vietnam. We did that. Until we left, there was a South Vietnam.
I would assume that because this giving up, it's basically the same.
Basically, yeah, that's what happened. Was before Trump left office, made a deal with the Taliban. Didn't consult the Afghan government. Said, okay, this date we'll leave. Didn't consult the government. They were struggling to hold on. But once the U.S. Army left, it's like the Afghan Army wanted to leave with us. And so the Afghan Army should have been able to hold on, but they didn't. They just gave up. And Taliban ended up chasing us all the way to the airport while we were leaving. But yeah, paycheck, that's a big deal of it. Back to a few other things, though. Is government spending? So that's always a lot. Spending, this chart shows spending as a percentage of gross domestic product, this value of goods and services economy. And then receipts versus as a percentage of the gross domestic product. It goes up like 2012. Goes up sharply again because of World War II in the 1940s. That comes down dramatically at the end of the war. Spending goes down, but generally kind of stays kind of close to even until in the 1970s. And even under Carter, the deficit was closing. But then, 1980s, Reagan lowered taxes but did not lower spending. Lowered spending on some things, but basically kept spending, but increased defense spending. But overall spending basically increased, so we have these massive budget deficits. Clinton's able to get those under control in the 1990s, but then Bush comes in and undoes that, and deficits start rising again, particularly with the Great Recession.
It will be a constant move. A different way of viewing power should work. So it's going to be. Which I'm not advocating for, but yeah.
Yeah, remember, there's a difference between deficit and debt. Deficit, that is how much you're spending that's over what you're taking in. And the accumulated deficits, that is your debt, what you owe. Surplus is when you take in more money than you spend. One thing I got here is Social Security. Social Security, I said it's a very popular program. The thing is, it's a pay-as-you-go program. And paid for by current beneficiaries. There's several different types of it, but Social Security, while it's most popular, is what they call old age insurance. They brought it in. For many Americans, particularly retirees, that's their sole source of income. VA's always been a little funny. That's the thing about warfare and defense in general is you send those men out there in uniform, you're responsible for them. You got to make sure they're any injuries they receive that they're cared for the rest of their life. You don't just dump them on the street and leave them.
Things like, for instance, the field artillery, and we don't get VA if we get hearing loss because of our job. Field artillery, we're around a lot of loud stuff already, and they don't cover that.
Yeah.
Screwed in that sense.
Yeah, my grandfather's in the artillery in World War II, and he couldn't hear a thing hardly.
Mm-hmm. Cannons are loud.
Yeah. But what he did get treatment for was he got shot in 1944 in France, and most 1945 in the hospital, and after that, in and out of the VA hospitals and clinics getting checkups every so often because of that. Grandpa Jack didn't talk about the war very much.
Not.
My dad was Vietnam. He doesn't talk about it much.
No.
He says he still has nightmares about it. But he said one thing he knows difference between somebody who's been in combat versus really been in combat versus somebody who hasn't, who just says they are. Guys been in combat don't talk about it. Like I said, they're certainly not going to brag about it. They tell some curious little stories, but he's spending all day talking about it. You're not a subject they like bringing up.
In real life.
Social Security, this is Social Security website, SSA.gov. Are you eligible? Eligible is always based on work. You work 40 quarters, that is 10 years, to qualify for Social Security. You can plan your retirement from there. Check for eligibility. Don't, age 18 over. Just put mine in. Let's put a random date in here. Social Security, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, another thing to note is just because you've been deployed doesn't mean you see work rate.
Yeah, it's the difference between the guys up front versus the guys in the rear.
Infantry versus artillery.
So what do they say now? It's like for every soldier in the field, there was like 7 people behind the lines supporting him.
I haven't heard that.
Something I heard years ago, but and basically all the logistics, all the people getting the guys equipped, get them sent over, supplied.
Yeah. There's a lot more than just hot infantry.
A lot of specialty things. Okay. Most jobs in the United States and U.S. territories take Social Security tax out of your paycheck. It's what they call payroll tax. It's equally divided. 6% out of your they take directly out of your paycheck, and 6% your boss takes out of the boss's payroll. So not only do you pay stuff in, but your boss has to pay in Social Security taxes too. And usually that's just They just put that together in one big check and mail it off. Now, if you have Social Security being deducted, that means it is going into Social Security. Now, for some jobs like state and town government positions don't pay Social Security taxes. Some teachers don't even don't take Social Security taxes out, so they don't eligible for Social Security. This job we are. We're on a state pension plus Social Security. But if they are able to retire, I might have a fairly nice one. Do I get a paycheck from a job right now? Kind of. I'm able to work because of condition. Now, Social Security, disability, that is paid through Social Security. Unemployment, that is paid through Social Security. SSI, that's doctors, social workers, and other people in your life may call your condition a disability. Yep. Are you married? In case people who are in non-marital legal relationships like civil unions, domestic partnerships, may also be entitled to benefits as a married person, including same-sex couples unable to marry prior to recent Supreme Court decisions. Maybe eligible for benefits because your current or former spouse is at work. Divorced? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, why am I not eligible? Because in this case, because not old enough yet. Let's go back a little bit.
Isn't it like,
Got to be,
eligibility things was getting.
yeah. Because for your age, it's going to be 67. And my age is going to be 67 to qualify for full benefits. You can have early retirement at 62. But for most of the time, the program has been 65. But because our parents didn't have as many children on average, they had to bump up the age. All right, let's see. 1959. Okay. So I'm just turning 65 this year. Yes. Think it'll work, you know. You get government benefits that help you pay for essentials like food and clothing, SNAP, Medicaid, and so forth. Just make it easy, we'll say no. If you have limited or no income, or you find it hard to pay for essentials like food, clothing, or home every month. No. Make it easy. Notice because the age I entered is over 65, they're asking a different set of questions. Are you married? Let's see. Maybe older. Or for 10 years or more and meet the age qualification because you're 62 or older. And on this, they used to have a system you could enter in your Social Security number, and you could see what benefits you were eligible for. Used to, they'd actually mail out every year what you're eligible for. They don't do that anymore. Benefits, disability, SSDI, disability provides monthly payments to people. A disability that stops or limits their inability to work. Who can get disability? Disability or blindness. This can be severe mental problems, be physical disabilities. It can be deafness that is legally deaf or legally blind. And you've worked enough. To get your benefits may include a monthly payment and Medicare. Your payment amount is based on your work history before your disability began. Now, it's not very much, but they do pay for it. Maybe you'll return to work or continue working without losing your disability benefits. Depends on exactly what it is. Sometimes you can work, sometimes you can't. Just depends. But if you're on, say full disability payments, you're not allowed to work. And it takes a lot of work to prove to the Social Security Administration you are disabled. They don't just give that to anybody. That's it. Are there some people who cheat the system? Yeah, that's why it's so hard to get it. And they can jerk that payment away real fast. Survivor benefits. Survivor benefits provide monthly payments to eligible family members, people who worked and paid Social Security taxes before they died. The spouse, divorced spouse, child dependent parent of someone who worked and paid Social Security tax before they died. Now, this is a serious social problem before Social Security came in. Is husband works at a factory, dies in an accident plant. The family's now lost their main breadwinner, and they could lose everything. Social Security made sure that these families would still be getting some money. Next, I've had a lot of students over the years that, because their father or mother had died, they get Social Security payments until they're 18. Make sure that they're still cared for and taken care of. And that's what that's about. Now, unemployment, that is arranged through the that is paid for through Social Security, but it's usually run through the states. So to get unemployment, you have to basically go to sign up with the state of Arkansas. So we'll stop with that one here. Social Security a little bit more here. Next, remember what it calls pay as you go. Because the money's being taken out of your paycheck right now for Social Security. That isn't sitting in a bank vault somewhere in Washington with your name on it. That's going to pay people who are on Social Security right now. Your parents, your grandparents, aunts and uncles, that's going to them. Like 6.25%, give or take. The thing is, it's capped at $125,000. Now, here's what it means. Like I say, the old age insurance, as they called it, original age of eligibility in 1935 was 65. And it is for people born for like 1965 or something. They staircased up to 67. Okay. Question. What was the life expectancy for people in 1935? 63. You're expected to be dead before you collected. And you go to the old cemeteries around town, look at the guys who died around those times. They weren't very old. Today, what's life expectancy? 78. So we're living longer, and we're longer and healthier lives because of advances in medical technology. Public health system that educates people on proper nutrition, proper health practices, a good medical system, people get vaccinated, people know what to watch for in case they do get sick. And really, there isn't a condition around that doesn't have some kind of treatment now. May not be able to survive it, but at least they can do something about it. At least give you a fighting chance now. That's even AIDS, which was a death sentence when I was in college in the 1990s, that's a treatable condition now. Have medication that can treat that now. You don't necessarily have to die from it anymore. Most cancers, they have a treatment now. Does that mean they can get it every time? No, but you can survive a lot more than you could 30 years ago. 30 years from now, a lot more will be they can treat. Diseases like polio, measles, smallpox, basically gone now because of vaccinations. So, and we know more what kind of damage our health, so we tend to avoid that. Generally, most people eat better. Not all of them, but some of them do. We know the dangers of smoking, so fewer people smoke. So we live longer. But here's the thing: there's like 5 workers for every recipient the system started. Here's the thing, the demographics changed. This generation, the World War II generation, they had a ton of kids when they got home from the war. The baby boom, they called it. So you have all of a sudden a whole bunch more people paying into it. So that created what's called Social Security Trust Fund. All excesses of spending for programs like this, they go into a trust fund. Basically, surplus we're just saving for a rainy day. So, what you understand about demographics is they exist on, they go by, projections are based on existing information. 1938, the U.S. Census Bureau projected that the population of the United States would peak in 1988 at 200 million. After now, we're at a population of 330 million, still rising, because they didn't have that information they had back then in 1938. But the baby boom generation, they don't have as many kids. They didn't have kids at all, which meant now there are fewer and fewer people paying into Social Security as they get older. Now that baby boom generation, they're basically all retired, or mostly retired. And they don't have as many kids, so there aren't as many kids paying into that system. So what happens? We gotta start tapping into that trust fund, and not as many people to pay for it. Well, starts running a deficit. What happens? It runs out of money completely. They'll only be able to pay 73% of promised benefits, and that could happen as soon as 2040, the year I turned 65. How's that for timing? Bridges luck. So thankfully, I don't have a job that's very physically demanding. So they're running that to deficit, and the federal government has to basically pay into it to cover the cost of it. And there have been a couple of different ways they're talking about fixing that problem. They realized this problem in the 1980s, so they raised the taxes on Social Security. Okay, that'll take care of it. That didn't quite take care of it. So they raised age eligibility. So the staircase up now to 67. The $125,000 cap on Social Security tax, they talk about raising that, basically taking the cap off. Anybody paying over $125,000 have to pay that. And they say that would make the system solvent for at least the year 2100.
That's America's best.
That's right. Eventually comes a point you got to make a decision. The decision's not going to make people happy. You can raise the Social Security tax. That'll help a little bit for a little while. Put the cap on it, that'll help for a little while. Some people suggest let's privatize it. Let people invest that 6% in their own retirement funds. Okay, what's the problem with that? Yeah. Are you any good at investing? If we're that good at investing, why are we sitting here in a classroom in Arkansas and not sitting on a beach in Bermuda? Exactly. That's why the privatization is a problem, because some people aren't very good at that. And plus, this is what's called insurance. It wasn't your sole means of support. It was a part of it. any other pensions you have, plus savings, plus investments. And this would be a supplement. And I mean by insurance is what happens if all these others go away? What if you lose your savings? What if your investments go belly up? You at least have something. So you're not 70 years old in the street starving to death. That's what it meant by insurance. So you don't have to be 80 years old, get a job packing groceries at Walmart. Benefits are based on the salaries of individuals paying into the system. It's entirely self-financed, current workers paying for current recipients. So you want to make sure you have a good Social Security system. Want to make sure Congress funds this, but also have a lot of kids. And make sure at least one of them likes you well enough to find you a good nursing home one day.
Because the kid.
They do. Average retirement benefit on Social Security is $1,230 a month. Really can't live off that. But it's not just, well, its most popular feature, though, is benefits for the elderly. Remember, like we said here, looked on the Social Security website, you got all these other programs it takes care of, too. Unemployment insurance. Disabilities, blindness, including as a disability. Survivors benefits. Means you privatize Social Security, how are you going to pay for all these other things? Means you're not going to be able to. Similarly, Medicare. It is as a pay-as-you-go system based on a 1.45% tax. They pay 80% of everything. That's at 80%. Means that 20% remaining, you have to go with what's called gap insurance to help cover the remaining 20%. Because that 20%, that can be a lot of money. And there's several different programs here. Medicare Part A, Medicare Part B, Medicare Part D, that's a prescription drug benefit. Certain emergency benefits and so forth. As of 2018, Medicare provides health insurance to 60 million Americans. Thing is, where it had a massive trust fund at the beginning, it's also starting to have problems. You got to pay for it. This thing is so much more expensive now, and there's so many more people on the system than it started. Medicaid. The program provides medical care for low-income Americans, generally limited to 150% of the poverty line, depending on the state. Poverty line for a family of four, that's about $28,000 a year, which means you can qualify for Medicare if you make less than $42,000, depending on the state. But it's based on how many kids you have. Because Medicaid then also covers children. More than 65 million Americans are on Medicaid. Either don't have insurance or on private insurance. Or on some kind of government health insurance program. Program pays for 40% of all births in the United States. Provides health care for nearly 5 million blind and disabled individuals nationwide. Extremely important program. Like I say, and with the Affordable Care Act, it helped put a bunch of money into Medicaid, helping make benefits available to many more Americans, sometimes cases up to 200% of the poverty line. It also provides supplemental care for destitute senior citizens who still have medical expenses after Medicare. In some cases, the gap is provided by Medicaid, but that's only in extreme cases. We got other programs here like the SNAP program, called food stamps. But it stands for Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. The program provides eligible individuals and households with a monthly stipend to pay for food. Generally have a little credit card or something. It's generally doled out to the states, doled out to the eligible individuals. Who's eligible, what kinds of food can be bought through SNAP or vary from state to state. But basically, buy anything you want to on this SNAP card, but that benefits you got for the month, that's it. You don't spend it right, you spend it all at once, you got nothing else for the rest of the month. And there are a lot of SNAP recipients, they supplement their benefits by using local food pantries and food banks. It's an interfaith food pantry here in town. We get thousands of clients a year.
Does it add up?
It adds up. It's expensive to provide all that food. Now, you have to spend it all in 1 month, yeah. 2019, the poverty line, it's before code and everything, is at $22,000 for a family of 3 or $25,000 for a family of 4, husband, wife, 2 kids. By contrast, a job paying the federal minimum wage for 2019, which is $7.25 an hour, amounts to about $15,000 per year if you're working 40 hours per week. And in general, if you want to kind of figure out what people make per hour, think of it this way. 40 hours per week, 50 work weeks per year, taking 2 weeks off. So you're working about 2,000 hours. If you work those extra 2 weeks, 2,080. So generally, hourly wage is that, your annual wage is your hourly wage multiplied by about 2,000. So making $7.25 an hour, you're making about $15,000 a year. So you are deep in poverty. You qualify for SNAP, you qualify for Medicaid. In some cases, they have what's called Section 8 housing, which is basically they subsidize in some apartment units your rent. Basically, you only pay a few dollars and the federal government pays the rest. Section 8 housing. In fact, about 30% of children in the U.S. Households are receiving SNAP assistance. A lot of kids being raised in poverty. And about 44% of SNAP recipients work. Now, what are those who are unemployed? Those who aren't working? Well, a lot of them are senior citizens who can't work. So of the working age population that takes SNAP benefits, the vast majority are working. And they check those finances very closely to make sure that you're not holding anything back. Probably one of the most heavily regulated of all the entitlements. About 52% of fast food workers receive some kind of public assistance. In fact, Walmart got in a lot of trouble a few years ago because the Walton kids, they're some of the richest people in the country, multi-billionaires. But what was something they put on the Walmart application, job application? Instructions on how to apply for food stamps and public benefits. Because they're paying them so little, most of their workers will qualify. About 1 in 8 individuals receive SNAP assistance in both Arkansas and nationwide. About 388,000 people in Arkansas. Nationwide, about 42 million. And a statistic really make you mad? About 1.4 million veterans receive SNAP benefits. Arkansas gets $510 million to to give out SNAP benefits from the government. We call it block grant. Basically, each state gets a big cut based on its population, poverty levels, and the state, they get this money, they spend it pretty much however they please within certain federal guidelines. But in Arkansas, they get $510 million for this block grant, SNAP benefits. Averages out to 388,000 benefits, about $110 per person. $110 per household per month. Households with children receive up to $400 per month, but the $110, that averages out to about $1.20 a meal. Households of elderly couples receive an average of $73 per month. $1.20 per meal. No, you're not making any kind of money off of SNAP benefits. You've got next to nothing. Welfare benefits are even less than this. They're not. You may be getting a check in the mail, but it's not for very much. But each SNAP dollar spent generates $1.70 in economic activity. Because people are going out, they're buying food, they have the food to buy, what money they do have, they supplement and add to that. The SNAP benefits reduce food insecurity in a household by 20% over 6 months. And most people don't stay on these benefits for long. But they'll make enough money, they're off it for a while, but then something happens, they kind of sink back into it. But a lot of people don't stay in it forever. Supplemental Security Program. This began in 1973 through Social Security, provides aid to the destitute, elderly, the blind, and the disabled. Benefits average $572 per month, depending on the state and income. And about 8 million people participate in this program, of whom about 7 million are blind and disabled. The Earned Income Tax Credit. This is something you figure out on your income taxes, but it's actually turned out to be a really clever, very helpful way of helping poor families. Earned Income Tax Credit was enacted in 1975. The program provides supplemental income in terms of tax credits and refunds on federal income taxes. If you earn less than $55,000 per year and you're eligible, the amount you can qualify for the EITC. But the amounts vary based on income and number of children. The average EITC benefit is $3,100 per year for the family of children, and brought in more than 5.6 million people out of poverty in 2018. So while the income tax is a hassle, people who are very deep in poverty, this can actually be real helpful. That refund check, because of the earned income tax credit, that can really help them out. I know people have been able to get a car and go to work because earned income tax credit refund. Housing assistance. This program provides subsidies on rent to 2.2 million households across the nation, limiting rents to no more than 30% of monthly income. So basically, people are extremely poor that make sure they do have a place to live. But not every place accepts what they call the Section 8 housing supplement, so it's limited where you can go, but you don't. But make sure that you do have a roof over your head at least. Qualifying households generally have to be under the poverty line. Another program, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. It's enacted in 1996 from a reform of welfare programs. Provides direct assistance to 1.2 million families in 2018, including 2.3 million children. Benefits are only about $477 per month. It's actually only, and TANF, it's only about $200 a month in Arkansas. $95 a month in Tennessee. This kind of program you have to go to job counseling to qualify for. The strict work and education requirements limit the number of households in the program, and benefits still keep most of the recipients below the poverty line. That's what entitlements do. But still, we have about a quarter of children in it's not a quarter, it's not got that much, but it's got millions of children still in poverty today. It's been cut in half over the last 4 years, but that's because of programs like SNAP programs, the housing assistance, and the earned income tax credit. They take those away, take away Medicaid, that number's going to shoot right back up again. Some people are just kind of barely hanging on right now. But there are all sorts of other programs. This is just a few of the most popular ones. And so we'll go ahead and stop for now on that one.